All right, well, good afternoon or good evening. Well, that was a long one today, wasn't it? It's like sitting through 9 innings of White Sox baseball, so that was tough. But again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm joined today by Nick Lucius, who was appointed today as a Commissioner of the Department of Technology and Innovation. Congratulations, Nick. Yeah, there's like 2 of us that can clap in here for you. You know, Nick, previously he served the city as Chief Technology Officer, as well as Chief Data Officer, making him quite proficient in driving equitable and efficient services and delivery for our residents. With his experience and expertise, Nick will lead our city's technology infrastructure and management to fuel community engagement, innovation, and opportunities for all Chicagoans. And again, congratulations on your appointment today. I'm also proud that in today's City Council meeting, we approved the United Power for Action and Justice Ordinance, which is yet another campaign promise. Through this ordinance, the city will sell city-owned vacant lots to the 20th and 24th Ward for $1 each to local and minority-owned developers who are from the communities who we are ultimately utilizing to work to revitalize. From there, the vacant lots will be transformed by the developers into new affordable single-family homes for all of our residents. I've said it before and I'll say it again, providing access to affordable housing is an essential step to building a better, stronger, and a much safer Chicago. This ordinance was created by United Power and its key members, institutions, and they are as following: Precious Blood Ministry Reconciliation, Sunshine Gospel Ministries, the Resurrection Project, IFF, and the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation. I'm grateful for their advocacy and collaboration that they have brought to us in this moment. And next, of course, I'm grateful that the city will provide and approved the Water Leak Relief Pilot Program. And thank you to our leader here, our comptroller, Chase Redwinkle, for your leadership. This was an initiative that was introduced by my administration to provide substantial financial relief to residents who face high water bills due to underground water leaks. And residents and families should not be devastated or strained from paying their water bill, let alone paying a bill that is too high because of something that is beyond their control. And this 2-year pilot program, which starts next year, will assist residents who have experienced significant increases in their bill due to an undetected or sudden water leak. And once their eligibility is confirmed, the Department of Finance will issue a credit adjusting the bill in order to reflect the average usage prior to the leak. I'm proud that we were able to pass this ordinance today, making our water delivery system fairer and more accessible for the people of Chicago as we continue our mission to deliver economic justice to all of our residents. And finally, in today's meeting, we passed 3 resolutions in honor of the diverse communities that enrich our lives and our communities across the city. And by recognizing Jewish American Heritage Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and of course, Haitian American Heritage Month, we reaffirm our city as a place where diversity is celebrated and all of the cultural richness that it provides our city is truly valued. And so with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
34-14 voted to essentially endorse a push to overturn your decision to scrap ShotSpotter. Will you veto that measure, or will you reverse course with ShotSpotter?
Well, thank you for that question. First of all, this particular measure that was voted on today did nothing. This city council, the legislative body, does not have executive authority. What was actually quite fascinating about the debate, however, though, was many of the references to this sound detection referred to people who died on the scene. What I also found very interesting is that there were people who made references about how this particular technology is a worthwhile investment because it could stop somebody from dying after being shot. The reason why that's actually perplexing to me is because why does it take someone to be shot laying on the ground before someone decides to value their life? It's why I'm committed to investing in people. So my position is actually quite clear, my authority is quite clear, that this passage of whatever it was has no bearing on my executive authority.
Will you, do you consider it a rebuke of your sort of promise to reorient policing in Chicago to step away from things like ShotSpotter and focus on the root causes of crime?
Well, what it is it's more of a testament to the level of fear and trepidation and I guess lack of understanding of what it takes to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, whether it's the OIG report, the state's attorney, all of the evidence that has been made available to us that this tool, one, has been proven to be ineffective. In fact, where I compromised was actually offering the extension. This was at the request of the superintendent, so that data could be collected. That is actually what's already in the order. In fact, the previous administration that actually sold this as some sort of I don't know, maybe it's an offshoot of the crime bill, perhaps, that did not require people to actually collect the information and the data to determine whether or not it's being effective. I actually did that. It's a demonstration of my willingness to collaborate and work with people.
Hi, Mayor. Question for you about pensions, a little change of pace. It has been a year since you formed the pension working group to propose legislation. At the time, some members said that they were hoping to propose legislation even as soon as last fall session. Now, spring session is wrapping up. We haven't heard from the working group. Can you provide us an update, or what would you say to city pensioners who are getting impatient about that work?
Yeah, well, first of all, they should know that they actually have a mayor that believes in their retirement and them being secure. Right, unlike other previous administrations. So these conversations, the working group, the conversations have been quite effective and fruitful. So those conversations are ongoing, and I fully anticipate that there will be recommendations that will come from these conversations that ultimately put us in a much better position to secure retirement for people.
Any expectation on a timeline for that?
Well, again, the conversations are going well. These are problems, of course, that go back to the 90s when, again, previous administrations decided to just ignore people's retirement, whether it was police officers, firefighters, teachers. I'm actually someone who believes in working people. That's why these conversations were important. They're going very well, quite frankly. And, again, we should anticipate that great recommendations will come from it that will ultimately provide us with legislation that can lead to securing retirement.
Thank you. And then if I could get you to just weigh in on two transportation-related proposals that are in the city council right now. One that would, from Alderman Laspada, to lower the citywide speed limit from 30 miles an hour to 25, and then also a proposal a resolution calling on CDOT to explore creating a bus rapid transit lane down Western. Where do you stand on those two proposals?
I'm interested in both of those. As I've put forth our Better Streets for Buses, that initiative is already moving forward, particularly as we create bus-only lanes that allow for buses to move through the city of Chicago a lot faster. So these proposals definitely have piqued my interest.
Good evening, Mayor. Apologies if I missed it, but did you say you were going to veto the ShotSpotter measure or not?
Well, again, what was passed today? Is anybody in this room clear about what was passed? I don't believe anyone is clear about what actually was voted on. There's a bunch of whereases in there that take shots at my value system. The fact of the matter is that this tool has been proven to be ineffective. The executive branch has the authority to go into intergovernmental agreements through my authority. What was voted on today, it just doesn't make any sense, quite frankly.
So of the 34 yes votes, I understand some of them would have always voted in support of ShotSpotter, but some of them were also alders who have been allied with your agenda in the past. Where do you think your administration fell short on persuading them to vote with you?
So first of all, my administration is not coming up short. We're not. I canceled ShotSpotter. It's canceled. Jake, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, I would. How's it going?
It's going very well.
The nomination of Reverend Ira Ackery to the RTA board was withheld today, and I was told that the administration made that decision Why was Zach Reed's nomination held? And do you still stand behind him as a nominee, even though he said he didn't know about the $735 million budget shortfall that he would be responsible for helping solve as a board member?
Yeah, people who are closest to the neighborhoods that ultimately rely upon public accommodations, these are the people that we have to put forward. All of my nominations, whether they are commissioners, other appointments, we are batting 1,000. We are the best and the brightest people who are most connected, again, to the pain, that have solutions ultimately. We're going to give people more time to be able to have inquiry, and that's something that I'm committed to doing.
Okay, I want to ask 3 quick questions.
Mark.
Starting with the.
Mark.
Come on now. You allow
Me?
people follow-ups, and then when I ask one question, you want to run away with the mic, the way some people ran away from Marianne Ahern and the kids on
I did
another
not
occasion.
run away from Marianne. So
Okay,
sorry.
okay, but whatever.
Ask your question.
I'm going to ask my quick questions. Number 1, now that half of the question has been answered yesterday, and we're still trying to find out, we now want to ask the other half. Is it true, Judge Judy, true or false, that there is a movement to restore the rumored new chair for the Housing Committee as the floor leader? Number 2.
Okay, well, let me answer that one first.
Okay.
So, look at all these rumors. I just can't take it no more. You know that song, right, Mark?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
All I know is
I
the truth
have not
hurts and a
made-
hit dog always hollers. That's all I know.
Well, I don't know who's hollering in this room. What I can say is that I have not made any commitments to anyone.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Number 2, don't you think that today's vote is sort of a referendum on people feeling that you are doing too much unilateral executive decision making and not enough decision making with a broad discussion with the community? And by broad discussion, I don't mean one little meeting at South Shore. I'm talking about in all the neighborhoods. In fact, your management
So I got
style,
your question. So no, it's not.
Okay.
Okay, it's not like Meigs Field. It's not like raiding pensions. It's not like closing public housing, closing schools, selling off the Skyway, selling off the parking meters, right? No, that's not how my administration is governing.
Okay. And final question, when are we going to get to infrastructure for people who are nativists here as opposed to undocumented, unvetted workers? I call them get the getting while the getting's still good seekers, since you don't want us to call them what they are, which is illegal immigrants.
All right, I think I got your question. So first of all, we already have built 100 affordable housing units since I've been in office. There's 700 that are moving about now. $1.25 billion bond. It's the largest investment in housing in the history of Chicago for the west and south sides of the city of Chicago. $250 million into homelessness, a chief homelessness officer. We've hired almost 25,000 young people last year. We're going to hire an additional 4,000 on top of that, 28,000. Providing resources, grants for small business owners. You know, whether it's the agreement between the airlines, Quentin Primo and Google, Chase, building affordable housing downtown. There's no other city that can say affordability in downtown. My administration can, though.
How much is that going to the deep south?
I've answered your questions, Mark.
But how much is that going into
Thank
the
you.
deep south? Because the south side is a big area.
Mayor, I hear you saying that the ordinance, the ShotSpotter ordinance passed today, does not, overturn your authority to cancel
That is
the
correct.
contract. Are you saying that the ordinance, does the ordinance require the Chicago Police Department to publish the data that it calls for publishing?
We're already doing that. Listen, that was the whole point of the agreement, and I spoke to the sponsor about that. I'm the one who actually worked with the police department to create the extension so that data could be provided. No other administration was doing that. That was the whole point of the agreement. We're already doing that.
And I'm wondering if, as you said, if this ordinance is, either unclear or confusing, why not veto it to prevent any roadblocks down the line? Or do you plan to do that? I still am not clear if you are planning to veto it or not.
Again, it's an important note. Whatever action that I take afterwards, just know that I've already taken the most substantive action. That I made a commitment to the people of Chicago that we're going to do what safe communities in America do. We're going to invest in people. We're not going to live in fear. We're not going to live in the past. We're going to move forward. And that's what I have been charged to do.
Hi, Mayor. So you have not decided yet if you're going to veto it? You're not ruling out a potential veto of the ordinance?
Okay, I want to just make sure that everybody understands. No one is even clear of what this is. Alders, well, you all heard the debate. Many of them didn't even read the so-called order. People don't even know what's in it. They don't even know what's in it. And so part of my responsibility at this point is just to offer up a little bit of education about like actually how you have a legislative branch, you have an executive branch, you have a judicial branch. The executive branch has the authority to enforce the law and determine budget. The legislative branch does not have that authority. So people have to be clear on what's even in this particular document, before I make any substantive comments beyond that.
And also wondering, was an offer made and then rescinded to Alderwoman Emma Mitz to lead the Housing Committee?
No, I didn't make any promises to anyone.
So are you saying she's misconstruing that conversation?
I did not make any promises to anyone. No one.
Just to be clear, Mayor, should this period of data collection expire, and should the City Council come to you and say, we really believe Chicago would be a better, safer, stronger city with ShotSpotter, and by the way, our superintendent agrees, and by the way, the previous superintendent agrees, at that point, do you say, I'm right, you're wrong, and is that the ruling at the end of the day?
Well, there's a lot of hypothetical there, right? And so I do appreciate the hypothesis, perhaps if, then, therefore. I made a decision to extend this contract, to collect data, to make some determination on what is our best pathway forward. This is just one tool, right? It's one tool. I've always said from the very beginning, if there's technology that allows for better engagement as well as increasing the likelihood of safer communities, then I'm open to that. But make no mistake about it. The same people who were making arguments about this particular device were the same people, though, that voted against my bond deal. Do you understand? So you have people who believe that a life is only worth saving after it gets shot. What I'm trying to do is prevent people from getting shot. And the best way to do that is to invest in people. That's what the people of Chicago voted me to do, whether that's on the west, south side of the cities of Chicago in particular, where again, previous administration after previous administration continued to divest in these communities. I'm going in a different direction. We're going to invest in people.
How long will it take for that investment to pay out?
Well, that's already happening. What did I just tell you earlier? How many young people got jobs last year? 25,000. How many, I got you. How many people can get jobs this summer? Up to 28,000, a $1.25 billion bond deal, $250 million of homelessness, $100 million for violence prevention. And get this, a 15% reduction in homicides and shootings in my first year, while also raising the wages of Park District workers, many of them who weren't making $40,000 a year and they were serving the city for 25 years, teachers' assistants, giving raises to police officers. So ask those individuals how long is this taking? Because they're cashing checks right now. And we're building homes right now. And it's working. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor, on the ground over here. So
gotta do better. It's a packed house in here, so I'm sorry that you had to sit
it's all right.
cross-legged.
This is why I work out, right? There is an ordinance to establish a quiet zone in the 34th Ward around a women's clinic. It's been delayed twice now. Alderman Conway plans to call that to a vote at the next meeting. Do you support his efforts?
We certainly support making sure that people have access to medical care, particularly reproductive rights. We cannot have individuals that block people's access to health care. I mean, this is it's gotten out of control. And so I appreciate the work of the advocates, appreciate the leadership that's being expressed right now. Unfortunately, you're seeing these type of actions all over the country where the attack on reproductive rights are being threatened. So absolutely, we have to make sure that people have access to medical care, and it can't be threatened, and we're not going to stand for it. We're not going to stand for it, not in Chicago.
Hi, Mayor. The Chicago Department
Who
of
are you with?
I'm with the Chicago Reader.
Oh, okay.
The Chicago Department of Public Health recently put out a health alert for overdoses on the West Side. I know that the state lawmakers are wrapping up their work in Springfield right now, but have you had any conversations about the proposed safe consumption site on the West Side, or what else are you doing to respond to this spike in overdoses?
Well, look, this is devastating. I mean, as you know, I live on the West Side of the city of Chicago, and again, the type of tragedy that we've experienced over the course of decades has been debilitating. And unfortunately, these individuals who have these addictions have been criminalized. So the first thing is making sure that we're not criminalizing people who have mental health issues and or have addictions. As far as these safe sites, I made this very clear that I have been illuminated, by advocacy and fully support these efforts. I've made a very, personal appeal too, because some of you know, I had an older brother who had untreated trauma and died, addicted and unhoused. So my advocacy around healthcare, making sure that we're moving with some expediency around treatment, not trauma. I mean, these are all the efforts that we've been putting forward to ensure that that the residents of the city of Chicago have all the supports that they need. And those conversations are ongoing, and I'm grateful that we have, another West Sider, State Representative LaShawn Ford, has been very vocal about this particular issue, and he has my complete support.
Hi, Mayor. How are you today?
I'm good. Do I look okay, though, by the way?
You do.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
So my question is, an evaluation of the U Chicago Trauma Center showed that its opening in May 2018 reduced emergency transport time in some parts of the South Side by 8 minutes. Does your administration have any plans to add more trauma centers to areas experiencing violence?
This goes back to what I said earlier. We absolutely need greater and more access. That's why I'm opening up to mental health facilities and providing behavioral care support services and other public spaces. We have to, but that's going to take a collective effort. Federal government, state, the city, again, individuals who are making points about individuals who are being shot, I need their support when we're making proposals to prevent people from being shot. And, for too long, we've had politicians who pat themselves on the back because they respond after the fact. It's not leadership. It's not leadership. What leadership looks like is making sure that we do have more trauma centers, but that we're also making critical investments in the lives of people so that this pervasive neglect of communities doesn't continue. The reason why we're seeing so much pain and trauma in this city is because administration after administration after administration after administration continues to ignore my people in particular. And not under my watch.
Good evening, Mayor. On the leak relief pilot program, what was behind the decision to make it an opt-in program and not proactive outreach to affected owners? And what will the administration do to ensure that people aren't left out?
Yeah, thank you. Chase, please.
Great question. That is something we're actually going to be studying as we go through the pilot program. But part of that is technologically allowed. Some things look like leaks, but actually are not. They're actual usages of water. So as the pilot goes through, we're going to be learning where we can be more proactive and then making those recommendations to City Council in order to make this easier for residents going forward.
And then if I may follow up, what further remedies will be available for affected owners past the current cutoff date of January 1st, 2023, going further back, and for other types of properties like larger than 3-unit residences, et cetera?
Yep, great question. So the universe that was collected were the ones that we were seeing the most in this type of leak. That is also part of our data collection process to see if this needs to expand. I'll remind you, when we looked at the UBR program, the utility bill relief, that originally did not include 3 flats. After reviewing it, we decide to add those because that became necessary. We'll be doing the same here. If we are noticing additional locations that need to be included, we will make those recommendations to the City Council. In terms of going back beforehand, I committed in committee that we would talk with aldermen about trying to seek other solutions. In a lot of those cases, it's difficult to determine when those leaks actually occurred record-wise going further beyond 2023, but we will do our best, so we're making sure that we're being fair to residents beyond that period.
Good afternoon, Mayor Montague. Today, Alderman Vasquez filed a proposed resolution to urge you to dismiss CTA President Dorval Carter. What is your response to, and co-signed by 29 council members?
So I've made it very clear from the very beginning, that a public transportation system that's reliable and affordable, accessible, is at the heart and the core of my values. So I'm grateful that ridership is up and that we're hiring more people. Just last Wednesday, for the first time, we reached over 1 million riders in one day. So you can continue to see that trend. Our better streets for buses, that is still moving forward, making sure that we're providing resources, particularly around our infrastructure, to encourage that. And again, as far as personnel issues, I don't discuss those publicly.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
You just said that one of the substantive reasons that you extended ShotSpotter through the fall was in order to collect data. I would assume about ShotSpotter.
Yeah.
So we already have several years of data on ShotSpotter. What goal is the collection of that data serving, and how does it serve the sort of people-oriented focus that you have? How does data on how ShotSpotter works inform that if your goal is to cancel ShotSpotter?
So in order for this particular tool to at least give some clarity of its effectiveness, there are steps that police officers have to take. They got to get out the car. They got to collect shell casings. I mean, there's a whole litany of discovery. That wasn't happening. All I'm offering is an opportunity for something that did not happen because it wasn't directed from previous administrations to just give people the opportunity to at least collect that. Now, to your point, well taken. I've seen what I need to see, but this is me being collaborative. I'm really a nice person, you all. I really am. Just me being nice.
Why not collect that data before the announcement, or why not do that beforehand?
Because the contract was expiring. So we had to make the decision. So I made the decision and I demonstrated how nice I am. It's a win-win.
Hey, Mayor, excuse me. Does Alderman Ramirez Rosa, should he keep a place in your leadership team, whether it's at zoning, housing, anywhere else, despite previously apologizing on the floor, almost being censured, resigning his post?
Yeah, first of all, Alderman Ramirez Rosa is a leader. He's one of my strongest allies, and what he has done in City Council over the course of his time is remarkable. And what I've said, and I've said repeatedly, we have to create restorative practices to ensure that we are modeling, what's best. So if we're committed to restorative justice and restorative practices, then we need to make that commitment. And I've said that from the very beginning. These conversations have been ongoing. His strength and his dedication has been just remarkable. His maturation, continues to be on display. So ultimately the decision comes down to me, right? Every other mayor prior to me has been able to determine who their committee chairs are, and I find him to be incredibly valuable. And him being restored is something that the body made a commitment to. The body made a commitment to his restoration. And so we're going to continue to have conversations to ensure that his restoration is complete.
I don't know that they made a commitment to his restoration, including staying on as a chair of a committee. You're not suggesting that, right?
Well, that's what's your definition of restoration? So no, listen, so look, the bottom line is this. There's only one way to define restoration. You restore people back to a place after having some time to reflect. And he's a leader. He's a valuable asset to our larger aspirations for this city. He represents, that which is quite remarkable in this moment with the most diverse board. With the most diverse city council in the history of Chicago. So his restoration is something that I believe that people are very clear about. And we're going to continue to work and have conversations with people to ensure that that happens. And again, I want to congratulate Nick, Lucius. Thank you. There's more questions.
Yeah, sorry, I had one more. So you...
Brian, Nick.
I apologize.
Parents have driven like...
If you give me another, I'll ask Nick a question too. Mayor, you've been, some city council members have been pushing for you to replace the chief procurement officer. Your office has been trying to do so and has been unable to reach a resolution so far because she serves under a term. What is the status of that negotiation, and why do you think she needs to be replaced?
So I don't discuss personnel issues.
Well, last but not least, sorry. Okay. It's okay, I'm hiding back here. Hey, Mayor.
Hey.
Quick question, new arrivals mission. When you announced the stay limits were going into effect in March, you gave families a series of extensions. Those are coming up in a couple weeks in June after the school year. Will those be enforced, or will there be additional extensions for migrant families with children?
Well, first of all, let me just say that this, mission has certainly been a challenge for the entire globe. And let me just think out loud, our faith community, the philanthropic community, and the people of Chicago who've stood the test of time. Our population of migrants in the city of Chicago at one point, was high as 15,000. It's now under 7,400, I believe. And we've saved the taxpayers over $200 million, while again making critical investments. We don't have people in police stations, airports. We've built an operation that's really centered around people's humanity. And I'm grateful for the leadership in this moment. And as difficult as it has been, we haven't flinched. Turns out we can do both. There were some folks who sounded, I guess, an alarm that there were going to be thousands of people, right, that could be on the streets as a result of this order, and that just hasn't been the case. I think so far, roughly 700 people have been identified within that 60-day status, of which 53% of them ultimately have returned. As far as I'm concerned, that our operation that's been centered around people's humanity, it turns out it's actually working. We still can't sustain this by ourselves, however. This is an international crisis that requires a federal response. Now, we've been able to pull the state and the county together to address this mission, and I'm grateful for the work that we have been doing. But Trump Republicans have to stop using this as a political moment and actually dig a little bit deeper and perhaps actually exercise the faith that they ostensibly subscribe to by speaking to the least of these, while also investing particularly in Black Chicago and brown Chicago and places around the globe. That has to happen. But again, this mission has been something that has been met, and I'm grateful for the leadership. And again, thank you, Chase, for your work. You all know Nick Lucius is going to have a Netflix series. He's really a Marvel character. So thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mayor.